I have been sitting here thinking about our roster construction, and honestly, the Minnesota Vikings officially upgrading their secondary by signing former Steelers cornerback James Pierre is exactly the move we needed. Moving on from the disastrous Jeff Okudah experiment and bringing in a player who thrives in Brian Flores' heavy cover 2 scheme is a massive win for our defensive depth. It finally gives us a veteran safety net who can actually hold his own when our starters need a breather. And honestly, the more details come out, the harder it is to ignore what is going on behind the scenes. Please hit that like button, subscribe, and drop your name and city in the comments. Let us get into it. The Minnesota Vikings have officially upgraded their secondary by signing veteran cornerback James Pierre, moving on from last season's failed experiment with Jeff Okudah to solidify our defensive depth. Pierre enters the fold as the clear favorite to serve as the team's primary CB3, bringing a wealth of experience from his 6 seasons with the Pittsburgh Steelers. After a frustrating campaign last year where the third cornerback spot became a glaring liability, the front office finally prioritized stability and reliability. We watched the defense struggle to find its footing at that position, but Pierre arrives with a stellar Pro Football Focus grade of 86.8 and a proven ability to excel in the cover 2 schemes favored by Brian Flores. The Athletic recently highlighted this acquisition as one of the most underrated moves of the offseason, specifically noting how Pierre's expertise in sinking underneath routes makes him a perfect fit for our current defensive philosophy. The truth is that while Pierre is nearing 30 and likely past his prime, his role is not to be a superstar, but to act as a dependable veteran safety net. His arrival was heavily influenced by the hiring of new defensive pass game coordinator Gerald Alexander, who worked closely with Pierre in Pittsburgh and championed his versatility. Our fans are breathing a sigh of relief knowing that a competent professional is ready to step in if Byron Murphy Jr. or Isaiah Rodgers face any injury concerns during the long season ahead. With the defensive secondary now arguably stronger and more cohesive under this new leadership, we have to wonder if this specific alignment of coaching staff and personnel is enough to push our elite defense into truly legendary status, or if the lack of youthful upside at the position will eventually create a ceiling for this unit when they face the league's most explosive passing attacks. The most surprising reality regarding this signing is that James Pierre was essentially handpicked by new defensive pass game coordinator Gerald Alexander to fix a unit that lacked reliable depth for years. Alexander and Pierre developed a professional rapport while working together in Pittsburgh, which explains why Minnesota made him their first free agent target this past March. We are talking about a player who secured a 2-year, $8.5 million deal, providing a much higher floor than the volatile rotation we witnessed previously. Historically, Minnesota has often struggled to find secondary consistency, frequently relying on reclamation projects that failed to pan out, but this move feels different because it prioritizes scheme familiarity over raw potential. The front office and coaching staff are clearly aiming to capitalize on our defensive success from last year, which saw the unit rank 3rd in league efficiency. They are thinking that by installing a coach who knows exactly how to utilize Pierre in cover 2 schemes, they can mitigate the risk of injury to starters like Byron Murphy Jr. or Isaiah Rodgers. And I'll be straight with you, while some might worry about his age as he approaches 30, his workload remains surprisingly low with fewer than 3,000 career snaps. This limited tread on the tires suggests he can maintain his current production level without the typical physical decline seen in older veterans. The coaching staff is betting that having a teacher like Alexander, who brings deep experience from stops in Miami and Pittsburgh, will allow our defensive backfield to communicate more effectively during high-pressure situations. We have seen what happens when our secondary depth crumbles, and bringing in a seasoned veteran who understands the specific technical requirements of our system is a calculated, sensible approach to building a championship-caliber roster for this upcoming season. Replacing a failed experiment with a proven commodity is the hallmark of a serious contender, and that is precisely why the arrival of James Pierre changes the calculus for our secondary this autumn. We have transitioned from the uncertainty that defined our defensive depth last year to a situation where we can finally trust our backups to hold their own when the starters need a breather. This move brings immediate stability to a roster that desperately needed a reliable hand at cornerback, ensuring that a single injury does not cascade into a complete defensive collapse. Let's be real, the financial commitment of $8.5 million over 2 years is a bargain for the insurance policy Pierre provides against the high-octane passing attacks we face in the NFC North. With Pierre's experience in cover 2 schemes and his deep familiarity with our new pass game coordinator Gerald Alexander, we gain a tactical advantage that will pay dividends during critical divisional showdowns against the Lions and Bears. His ability to anchor the flat and provide steady tackling allows Brian Flores more creative freedom to dial up pressure elsewhere, knowing the edges are covered by a veteran who understands his assignment perfectly. This shift effectively narrows the gap between our starters and our reserves, tightening our overall defensive unit as we push toward a postseason run. By shoring up this vulnerability, we are no longer just hoping to survive the secondary rotation. We are positioning ourselves to thrive regardless of who is on the field. This upgrade is a clear signal that the front office is committed to protecting our gains from last season, turning a position of weakness into a reliable asset that will keep us competitive throughout the long, grinding stretch of a challenging schedule. The true upside to bringing James Pierre to Minnesota is simple: reliability in a high-stakes defensive scheme. Brian Flores demands his cornerbacks possess the tactical intelligence to handle complex coverage rotations, and Pierre has proven he can execute those assignments with clinical precision. By replacing a failed experiment with a seasoned professional, we gain a safety net that protects us from the cascade of coverage busts that plagued our depth chart last season. Now, here's the thing. There is a legitimate concern regarding his age and physical ceiling. Turning 30 means we are likely witnessing the tail end of his athletic prime, and if his recovery speed or lateral quickness declines, the back end of our secondary could become vulnerable in one-on-one situations. Around the league, analysts like those at The Athletic have lauded this as a savvy, value-driven acquisition, noting that his specialized experience in Cover 2 systems makes him a perfect glove fit for our specific defensive identity. Other teams see our front office prioritizing experience over gambling on raw athleticism, which is a departure from our recent history. Here is where I land on this. I believe this move represents a mature shift in our roster-building strategy. We have moved away from chasing high-upside projects that never materialize and have instead opted for a craftsman who knows how to survive in the trenches of the National Football League. While some fans might pine for a younger, flashier name, I appreciate the foresight to surround Byron Murphy Jr. and Isaiah Rodgers with a player who actually understands his assignments. We are not paying for a star, we are paying for stability. And if Pierre provides exactly what he did in Pittsburgh, our defensive secondary will be one of the most organized and disciplined units in the entire NFC this coming year. By prioritizing steady, experienced professionals like James Pierre, our front office is signaling a clear shift towards sustainable, high-floor depth that keeps our competitive window wide open for the next several seasons. This strategic pivot ensures that Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores are not forced to gamble on high-risk projects that failed us in the past, but can instead rely on proven veterans who understand complex defensive schemes. Think about it this way. When you replace uncertainty with a player who thrives in the exact coverage roles our scheme demands, you build the kind of resilience necessary for deep playoff runs. You should feel genuinely optimistic about this direction because it proves our organization has learned from previous mistakes and is focused on building a complete roster capable of handling the inevitable attrition of an NFL season. By pairing Pierre with Coach Gerald Alexander, we are doubling down on institutional knowledge that minimizes the learning curve and maximizes on-field production immediately. This methodical approach to roster construction provides the stability we need to compete at the highest level in the NFC. We are no longer settling for placeholders, but are instead curating a unit that values technical discipline and reliability above all else. This move strengthens our secondary, gives our pass rush more time to get home, and keeps our title aspirations alive. Now, I want to hear your thoughts on this defensive upgrade. Do you believe James Pierre will be the missing piece that pushes our secondary into the top 5 of the league rankings this year? If you enjoyed the video, do not forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. Skol! I'll see you in the next one. Vikings fans should definitely stay tuned because we are breaking down every single matchup and roster move throughout this long season.